Hello and welcome to review number 1, Legacy Wreck and Rule, Springer. Now Springer is a character whose design-wise is actually really awesome. I mean, the animation model, its greens and its yellows, they worked really well. Now the design has captured quite well in the Siege mode here. It's chunky in all the right places with its blocky shoulder pads which were derivative of the 80s. His futuristic car mode and his helicopter mode were both nice, sharp, angular, which does translate into the robot mode with his squared chest. And on this specific mode, this perfect, brilliant head sculpt. Now, this version of Springer, the Legacy Wreck and Rule one, is based off of the toy colours. Now, that poses probably the first issue of this figure for me personally, is that the colours are a bit garish. If we look at the toy colours, we can see a bit more softer grey on this figure and a more neon yellow, which upon first glance when I saw this I was like, it didn't work. It really didn't. But having the figure here in hand, the yellow, the green, the greys, they all work together to form a coherent and actually pretty decent looking robot mold. However, this figure isn't without fault. Now, whether this is just my figure or this is a recurring issue. If we come to the rear of the figure, just turn it around, we see, well, two of its issues, but its first issue is that its backpack doesn't tab in solidly. Now, it isn't the biggest issue. It still stays there, it doesn't flop backwards, but again, it's an issue nonetheless. And the other issue is the ankles. The ankles are actually quite weak. If I knock him, he's over. He's fallen over. And that is a problem I found with posing him, is that his ankles, the joints are quite loose. So that's something else to keep in mind when seeking out this figure. Again, could just be my copy or could be more widespread issue. Now for accessories, it comes with the gun, which he is holding, which I'll just grab. And it's a very well sculpted gun. It comes with his other gun, which I also feel is quite well sculpted. It comes with a pair of blades for the rotors. Focus. And then also this spinny piece, which spins quite well. And he's got a decent amount of posability, which we'll go on to next, that allow for him to get into some decent poses with his weapons. I mean, you've just seen him there, but if we get him into like a sword fighting pose, maybe? He's quite dynamic and imposing as a silhouette, as a figure, the Siege mold. Well, now onto some posing and the transformation. And now for the figure's posing. So you can look up that far, down that far, tilt side to side, and then rotate 365 degrees. Now the arms are so they can rotate that far up and that far back. Go out at a bit under 90. Bicep swivel. Over 90 degrees bend at the elbow. And 365 degrees at the wrist. Just lower the camera down a bit on. You can rotate that far each way. He's impeded at the back by this piece here, stopping him from getting a full 365. You can kick out and do the full splits like that. You can kick out forward about 90. You can kick out back all the way. Thigh rotation. Quite a nice knee bend there. Then ankles, which go down a bit, up quite a bit, an ankle rocker, about 90 degrees there. Look, posing's okay, limited in some areas, such as the waist and the shoulders, but it doesn't stop him from getting into any dynamic poses. Now, Springer's car mode accurately represents what we see in the show, from the kind of sporty, angular outline of the figure, obviously the big fenders at the front, the slightly indented front end, towards the back where he has his fins here. Now, the car mode as a whole, I think, looks pretty good. However, with it being a Voyager class triple changer, there are some drawbacks to the overall profile of the vehicle, unlike some others with bigger budgets. Now, what I'm specifically referring to is here. If we look, it looks a bit untidy, bit gappy, not quite as clean as something Hasbro might put out today. Now, for the transformation itself, as you may have seen, I might look like I struggled a bit. The transformation is finicky, and it's all to do with the torso section, specifically how the arms peg in, especially going back to robot mode. I found quite difficult to do. Apart from that, it is a quick and easy conversion into car mode, and the result is quite good considering the standards of some other recent triple changers such as Blitzwing at a higher price point. This is quite a good vehicle. So now for helicopter mode. So the helicopter of the three modes is probably the weakest. Now that's not to say it's a bad mode. In fact, all three modes are quite spectacular. But the helicopter, in my opinion, is by far the weakest. It's got some flaws. Gaps here, gap all the way around the top, and we once again run into the problem of failing to tab in. But if it does tab in, there's probably less of a gap there. If it doesn't, there is. There is still gaps running along here. But as a whole, it is a pretty nice figure. We've got the rear fins, which were the wheels, which the rear rotor blade, at a glance, I know it's trying to replicate, but it just doesn't look like it to me. If they'd somehow maybe engineered it so it could flip around, or I don't know. But that is another, it doesn't look like a rear propeller, a rear rotor blade. It just looks like wheels on there, I guess. The top rotor blade spins really nicely. And despite being its weakest mode, I think Springer, for what it does, is one of the strongest triple changers out there. I think the figure, in broad strokes, captures the appearance of Springer to a T. Despite its weak third mode, the mould in and of itself would look spectacular as part of your Season 3 display or cast, or your Wreckers display, maybe. The only qualm probably with this version is that I understand the colours might turn people off, as people might want or prefer a traditional coloured Springer, such as the SS86 Retool or the Siege one. But I would recommend picking up this mould. It's really a good figure. So whether that's this figure, the Siege figure, or the SS86 Retool. Now, thank you very much for watching this. This is Harveymas signing off.